Cruise lines update their rules all the time, but they don't always make those changes obvious. Items that were allowed on past cruises are now restricted, and many travelers still pack them without realizing anything has changed. These aren't extreme or dangerous items, they're everyday things people bring out of habit. The problem is that most passengers only find out at security when it's already too late. In this video, we're going through 15 things cruise lines have quietly banned without telling anyone, so you know exactly what to avoid before you pack for your next trip. Make sure you watch until the end, because the final one has already cost some travelers thousands of dollars. And if you like clear, practical cruise tips like this, hit subscribe. It helps you stay prepared every time you sail.
Number 15. Bluetooth speakers and sleep sound devices. Bluetooth speakers and white noise machines used to be common cruise cabin items, especially for travelers who like music by the pool or background sound while sleeping. Recently, several cruise lines have quietly added them to their banned lists, even when they're only used inside private cabins. The official explanation is safety, since ships rely on public announcements for emergencies and want to make sure passengers can hear them clearly. Unofficially, cruise lines are also trying to reduce noise complaints and keep better control of shared spaces like decks and hallways. Because of this, speakers and sound machines are often confiscated during boarding and held until the end of the cruise. If you need background sound or music, the safest option is using headphones or earbuds, which are still allowed and won't cause any issues with security. Number 14. Personal Wi-Fi sharing equipment. Personal Wi-Fi sharing devices like Starlink minis, portable hotspots, and Wi-Fi splitters have become popular with travelers trying to avoid expensive cruise internet packages. For a while, some passengers managed to bring these devices on board and share a single connection across multiple phones, tablets, or laptops. That didn't last long. Cruise lines have now quietly restricted this equipment, even though the change hasn't been clearly announced to passengers. The main reason given is interference. These devices can create unauthorized networks that disrupt the ship's communication and navigation systems. To enforce the rule, some cruise lines now actively scan for rogue Wi-Fi signals during the voyage, not just at boarding. If a device is detected, it can be confiscated mid-sailing and held until the end of the cruise. The result is that passengers are pushed back into using the ship's official internet plans, which remain the only approved option on board. If staying connected matters to you, it's safest to budget for onboard Wi-Fi or plan to use internet only while in port.
Number 13. Walkie-talkies and baby monitors. Walkie-talkies and wireless baby monitors were once common on cruises, especially for families trying to stay in touch across a large ship. Over time, cruise lines began noticing problems with these devices interfering with onboard communication systems, including radio frequencies used for navigation and emergency operations. Because of that risk, many lines have quietly added walkie-talkies and baby monitors to their banned items list. Even devices marketed as low-power or cruise-friendly are now being flagged during security checks. Enforcement has become stricter after safety reviews showed that overlapping signals could cause confusion or static in critical systems. If these devices are discovered, they're typically confiscated and returned only after the cruise ends. The approved alternative is using the cruise line's official mobile app, which usually offers free onboard messaging between passengers. Some travelers also rely on simple meetup plans and schedules instead. While it may feel inconvenient at first, these options are safer and fully compliant with current cruise policies. Number 12. Boxed wine and bulk alcohol containers. Many passengers assume boxed wine is treated the same as bottled wine, but cruise lines now handle it very differently. This restriction isn't really about alcohol limits, it's about inspection and control. Boxed wine containers are harder for security teams to inspect and much easier to tamper with or use to conceal liquor. Because of that, most cruise lines have quietly added boxed wine and other bulk alcohol containers to their prohibited list. If you bring one to the terminal, it's usually confiscated during boarding or held by the ship until the cruise ends. In contrast, most lines still allow a limited amount of alcohol, typically one sealed bottle of wine per adult, depending on the cruise line's policy. The problem is that many travelers don't realize the distinction until they reach check-in and watch their box get taken away. To avoid that situation, always stick to sealed bottles and double-check the current alcohol rules before packing. Number 11. Balcony stunts and rail climbing photos. Balcony stunts and rail climbing photos became more common after a wave of viral social media posts showed passengers leaning over railings for dramatic pictures. What many people don't realize is that cruise lines treat this behavior as a serious safety violation, not a harmless photo opportunity. Climbing, sitting, or standing on balcony railings creates a real fall risk, especially when ships are moving or dealing with wind and rough seas. Because of that, enforcement is strict. In many cases, there are no warnings or second chances. Crew members act immediately when they see it happen. Some passengers have been removed from the ship at the next port, and others have been permanently banned from sailing with that cruise line again. Regular selfies are still allowed, but only when your feet remain firmly on the cabin floor and inside the railing at all times. Cruise lines make it clear that no photo, no matter how good it looks online, is worth risking a life or disrupting the voyage for everyone on board. Number 10. Fishing from cruise balconies. It might sound unbelievable, but some passengers actually tried fishing from their cruise ship balconies. What starts as a joke or a creative idea quickly becomes a serious safety issue. Fishing lines dropped from balconies can drift unpredictably, creating hazards for nearby cabins, lower decks, and even the ship's propellers. There have been incidents where lines became tangled, snapped, or interfered with ship operations, which forced cruise lines to step in. Because of these risks, fishing from balconies is now strictly prohibited. If crew members spot a fishing rod, line, or bait being used from a cabin, security intervenes immediately and the equipment is removed. In some cases, passengers may face further consequences depending on the situation. For travelers who enjoy fishing, cruise lines still allow it through approved shore excursions or licensed port activities, where it can be done safely and legally. Onboard balconies are meant for relaxing and enjoying the view, not for casting lines into open water. Number 9. Credit card chargebacks after the cruise. This is one rule many passengers don't realize exists until it's too late. Disputing onboard charges through your bank after the cruise can actually get you banned from sailing with that cruise line again. Cruise companies keep detailed records, receipts, bar logs, keycard data, and even camera footage. So when a chargeback is filed, they treat it as a serious financial dispute, not a simple billing mistake. In many reported cases, passengers who challenged drink charges, casino tabs, or onboard purchases through their bank were hit with lifetime bans, even if the amount was small. Ironically, cruise lines often take these financial disputes more seriously than minor safety violations. The proper way to handle billing issues is on board, before you disembark. Guest services can review charges, correct errors, and resolve problems on the spot. Once you leave the ship and go straight to your bank, the cruise line sees it as breaking trust, and that can cost you every future sailing with them. Number 8. Handcuffs and restraint accessories. This rule surprises a lot of passengers. Handcuffs and restraint-style accessories are sometimes packed as novelty or personal items, but cruise ship security treats them very differently. Regardless of intent, these items are classified as potential weapons under maritime safety rules. There's no gray area and no discretion. If they appear in your luggage, they're confiscated immediately. Security won't ask why you packed them or how you planned to use them. From the cruise line's perspective, anything designed to restrain another person poses a safety risk on a ship carrying thousands of guests. Many cruisers have described this as one of the most uncomfortable bag checks they've experienced, often happening in full view of others. Unlike some banned items that are returned after the cruise, restraints are usually removed permanently. If it can lock, restrain, or immobilize someone, it's best to leave it at home, no exceptions. Number 7. Bragging about rule breaking on social media. This is one of the quietest bans and one of the easiest ways to get yourself in trouble after the cruise is already over. Cruise lines actively monitor social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Reddit. When passengers post videos bragging about sneaking alcohol on board, bypassing rules, or beating the system, those posts often trigger internal reviews. In multiple real cases, cruise lines used the passengers' own videos as evidence and issued bans weeks or even months after the sailing ended. Some people assumed they were safe because they posted after getting home, but enforcement doesn't stop at disembarkation. Cruise executives have publicly confirmed that viral hack videos lead to investigations. The post itself becomes the proof. No inspection needed. If you break a rule and broadcast it online, you're essentially reporting yourself. The safest move isn't just following the rules, but keeping quiet if you didn't. Social media clout isn't worth losing future cruises. Number 6. Upside-down pineapple decorations. What looks like a harmless tropical decoration has become one of the most quietly enforced bans at sea. On cruise ships, the upside-down pineapple is widely recognized as a social signal, not just decor. Over time, it led to repeated guest complaints, awkward encounters, and confusion, especially on family-focused sailings. As a result, several cruise lines quietly banned upside-down pineapple symbols from cabin doors, balconies, and public areas. Even passengers who claimed it was innocent decoration were asked to remove it, with no debate. Crew members are instructed to take them down once spotted, regardless of intent. This isn't a rule you'll usually see announced during boarding or printed clearly in pre-cruise emails, which is why many travelers are caught off guard. The only exception is on clearly labeled adult-themed or lifestyle sailings, where the symbol is expected. On standard cruises, it's best to stick to neutral door decorations and avoid symbols with hidden meanings.
Number 5. Multi-plug outlet extenders. This ban has caught a lot of experienced cruisers by surprise. For years, surge protectors were the main thing on the prohibited list, but cruise lines have quietly expanded the rule. Now, even simple multi-plug outlet extenders, the kind with no surge protection at all, are being flagged during security screening. The concern is electrical overload and fire risk, especially on older ships that weren't designed for today's number of devices. The frustrating part is that many cabins still have only 1 or 2 usable outlets, which is exactly why passengers bring extenders in the first place. USB-only charging hubs are still allowed for now, but anything that adds standard plug sockets can be confiscated without warning. Many travelers only learn about this rule when their bag is pulled aside at embarkation. To avoid losing your gear, stick with plain USB hubs and charge strategically, because arguing at security won't get that extender back. Number 4. Pool floaties and inflatable toys. Cruise ship pools may look relaxed, but they operate under strict safety rules. Because pool areas are small and the ship is constantly moving, inflatable toys quickly become a hazard. Pool noodles, flamingos, inner tubes, and oversized inflatables can block swimmers, limit visibility for crew, and create collision risks, especially during rough seas. As a result, cruise lines enforce a zero-tolerance policy. If staff spot an inflatable, it's confiscated immediately, no warnings given. This applies to adults and children alike, which often surprises families who packed floaties thinking they were harmless. Even small inflatable toys are treated the same way. The only flotation devices allowed are approved life vests, which most ships provide for free when needed. Many passengers don't learn about this rule until they reach the pool deck and are asked to hand over their inflatables. If floating is part of your vacation plan, save it for the beach or a resort. On-board pools are strictly no-float zones. Number 3. Certain sunscreens, port-enforced ban. This is one of the most overlooked bans because it isn't enforced by the cruise line. It's enforced once you step off the ship. Many popular cruise destinations now prohibit non-reef-safe sunscreens that contain chemicals known to damage coral reefs and marine life. Places like Hawaii, parts of Mexico, and the Caribbean have implemented these rules, and local authorities are the ones who enforce them.
Passengers have been fined, denied beach access, or blocked from excursions after being caught with banned sunscreen at port. The problem is that cruise lines rarely warn guests clearly about these local laws, so many travelers find out only when it's too late. Even if the sunscreen is allowed on board, that doesn't mean it's legal on land. The simple fix is packing reef-safe sunscreen from the start. It protects the environment, avoids delays, and keeps your shore days running smoothly instead of turning into an unexpected headache. Number 2. Playing card games for cash outside the casino. A friendly card game on a cruise ship is perfectly fine until real money hits the table. The moment cash appears, it becomes a rule violation. Cruise ships operate under international gambling laws, and wagering is only permitted inside the ship's licensed casino. That means poker, blackjack, or any card game played for money in lounges, bars, cabins, or on the pool deck can be shut down immediately. Staff are trained to watch for this, and if cash is spotted, the game ends on the spot with no debate. This isn't about protecting casino profits, but about legal compliance and avoiding disputes between passengers. Even small casual bets count. Many cruisers are surprised to learn this rule exists, especially when games seem harmless. If you want to gamble for real money, the casino is the only approved location. Everywhere else, keep the stakes friendly or play for bragging rights only. Number 1. Wheelchairs without accessible cabin booking. This is one of the most costly and least publicized bans cruise lines now enforce. Passengers who bring a wheelchair, even a foldable one, are required to declare it during booking and reserve an accessible cabin in advance. If that step is missed, some cruise lines will deny boarding entirely, often with no refund. The reasoning is safety. Accessible cabins are designed for wider doorways, emergency access, and crew assistance during evacuations. Showing up with a wheelchair and a standard cabin creates risks the ship isn't allowed to accept. What makes this rule especially painful is how easy it is to miss. Many travelers assume a collapsible chair doesn't count or that they can manage in a regular cabin like before, but policies have tightened and enforcement is strict. In several reported cases, passengers lost thousands of dollars because one checkbox wasn't selected during booking. The only safe approach now is to declare mobility aids early and get written confirmation that your cabin meets accessibility requirements before you sail. So there you have it, 15 things cruise lines have quietly banned without clearly telling passengers. None of these are obvious, and most aren't enforced until your bag is already being checked or your cruise is about to start. That's why so many travelers get caught off guard. But once you know the rules before you pack, you avoid confiscated items, surprise fines, and awkward visits to guest services. A little awareness goes a long way on a cruise. If this guide helped you avoid a mistake, tap the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications. In the next video, we'll break down what's actually free on a cruise and how smart travelers get more value without spending extra. Cruise smart, pack smarter, and I'll see you on deck.